Senator Elizabeth Warren, Massachusetts Democrat. She is famously known for standing up to the Wall Streeters and the banksters and fighting the good fight, I guess. I've always been a little critical of this because it seems like she's a useful mouthpiece for the banksters and the Wall Streeters to have out there, kind of like a controlled opposition. Like, we know she's going to get up there and blow a lot of hot air, maybe put together some kind of a package of bills or something, and then, of course it's all going to get shut down because we have a Republican majority everywhere now, so whatever. She was neutered when the Democrats had the majority because it was all corporatist Democrats like Schumer and Nancy Pelosi and all these. I mean, these corporate Democrats are everywhere now, and it's almost like we don't have a party for the left. We got all these Democrats are basically looking for policies that are so centrist, or maybe even to the right a little bit. We're not getting anything we want. The people are not getting anything that's benefiting the people. So Warren's trying again, this time for the marijuana shops, to be able to do business with banking. And if you look at this again, it's not even that. So what she's working for is to make sure vendors working with legal marijuana businesses, from chemists who test marijuana for harmful substances to firms that provide security, don't have their banking services taken away. And why should they? Well, why shouldn't they? Why should they be special? I know I don't even get banking services. It ain't that they took them away, it's that they never let me have them in the first place if I run a marijuana business. So now all of a sudden I hire a guy to test my weed. He's actually has weed in his possession. He's testing it. He should get banking services still. Now you're saying that everybody that don't actually have direct involvement in manufacturing or distributing, we should protect them. But if you manufacture or distribute, there's no hope for you. You're a drug dealer. I don't want to go through this copy and read it all because it's just a lot of mumbo jumbo, to be honest. And we know what the story is. We know that if you don't have banks basically doing business with an industry, then that industry don't necessarily have to report proper reporting. And in fact, don't pay any taxes at all and can get away with it. It's so much easier to have a bank record to be able to gauge whether or not someone's paying their taxes or paying enough of it or whatever. Now, I'm all for paying taxes if you would let me. So I like to, bitch about things and moan about things. And if I don't pay taxes, I don't feel like I should be able to. Which is why I don't feel like the church should be able to bitch and moan about shit. Because they're fucking tax-free. And of course we all know that when these marijuana cash businesses, you got marijuana and cash sitting around on site. Sounds like something that somebody might want to rob. So yeah, we would like to do business with banks, trust me. 2 years ago, the U.S. Department of Treasury gave banks permission to do business with legal marijuana entities under some conditions. Since then, the number of banks and credit unions willing to handle pot money rose from 51 in 2014 to 301 in 2016. That's, wow. Warren, however, said fewer than 3% of the nation's 11,954 federally regulated banks and credit unions are serving the cannabis industry. Quote, what the industry needs is a sustainable solution that services the entire industry instead of tinkering around the edges, Taylor said. You don't have to be fully in favor of legalized marijuana to know that it helps no one to force these businesses outside the banking system. And yeah, I mean, I don't care who you are or how much you're against marijuana. Why would you want this to happen to anybody? I mean, I don't want to say it, but isn't the elephant in the room the fact that banking should be a human right? It should be in the Bill of Rights since the fucking banks run everything. they pretty much want to just get rid of paper currency, so we have no choice but to do all of our finances through the banks. And we also all know that the federal law is why the banks don't want to do the business with us, because of the stipulation that they would be doing business with drug dealers. Does anybody remember HSBC, the bank, who admittedly was laundering money for Mexican chop off your head drug cartels as well as Al Qaeda? And, that was a federally regulated bank. What happened there? They were doing business with known drug dealers that cut people's fucking heads off. And Al Qaeda, another organization that likes to cut people's heads off. So I guess in order for my bank to not get in trouble, I need to start cutting people's heads off? Or what the fuck even is this? HSBC, nobody's fired. Nobody goes to jail after they admit to laundering money, which is also a fucking felony and a conspiracy charge. They don't get any time. They don't get anybody fired. They don't get any fines or nothing. What the fuck? And now you're telling me that some little dude down here that grows like 100 plants or less can't fucking go to the bank and get a bank account or a loan? We can't get a fucking tax ID number? We can't do shit. Why would anybody want all this fucking money? There's billions and billions of dollars in marijuana, whether you like it or not. The first step is to take that money out of the fucking cartel's hands altogether. At one time, they said marijuana made up 60% of their fucking revenue stream. That was like 5-6 years before the recreational dam burst. Now, you hear reports about Mexican drug cartel bosses and shit buying marijuana from California and shipping it to Mexico. Kind of a weird thing, eh? Well, that's what happens. Well, the next thing you got to do is you got to take that fucking money and get some revenue out of it somehow, right? And how do you do that? Well, you bring them out of the fucking shadows. One of the ways you do that is you let them do taxes. You let them do banking. So, far be it from me to say deschedule marijuana again and have another legitimate reason why it has to happen. Well, we can't do business with banks because of that. Fuck you, DEA. Fuck you, FDA. Fuck you, anybody that has that thing, that button you can push. Obama, anybody, everybody. Everybody in Congress, everybody in the fucking Senate. The Supreme Court. Why don't you take up looking back at, one of these marijuana cases back in the 1930s or 40s to determine whether the fucking prohibition was even constitutional in the first fucking place. Because I don't think it is. The government lumps marijuana into the same class of drugs as heroin, LSD, and peyote. President Obama's administration has essentially turned a blind eye to states' law legalizing the drug, and he's also done that shit to help fucking that. Now, the last piece of this article is people worried about Trump. What's Trump going to do? Blah, 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 blah. Him and Jeff Sessions are going to come in there and roll this shit back to the 50s, right? They're going to make it so that, all these places that are recreational marijuana, they're going to send in, like, the National Guard, and the DEA is going to hire 100,000 new fucking people to start busting dispensaries and shit. I haven't seen the ad in the paper for that hire yet, but I don't think, I'm not really worried about this new administration, man. I'm really worried about just the people that are already out there fucking throwing a wrench in marijuana no matter where it's at, and the banks, they know they can do business with marijuana businesses. They know no one's going to fucking break their balls over it. They just don't want to do it because they don't want to do business with anybody but who they want to do business with. When are you going to figure that one out? I mean, come on. They got, when you're talking about not loaning people money to start a marijuana business, it's not even that. What if you already have a marijuana business and you need to get a loan because something crop failed or some shit? It's a farming endeavor, so there's always potential things can go wrong, and this isn't like any other thing where you get a steady paycheck. You're guaranteed to get this paycheck if you do your 40-hour work week or whatever. It ain't nothing like that. It's a business, and businesses need security, and security is the ability to get a small loan once in a while if you need it. Elizabeth Warren out there, she's the only one that's saying anything about this on the federal level. And I've heard others say stuff about it in passing, but if she's actually serious about this, it's okay. But I mean, take it a step farther. Who cares if you're just protecting the peripheral support businesses that support the people that are actually the manufacturers and distributors of marijuana products? And what you do is you are putting them on an island where they're going to take all the heat. For people that still want to enforce marijuana prohibition, which is absurd. It's 2016. We still have people out there playing fucking good guys, bad guys. And marijuana is the thing that determines whether you're a bad guy. I can't do it anymore, man. These cops and these politicians are just... They're not in touch at all with the public, especially on the issue of marijuana legalization.